Day 75, Desert Wanderings, Numbers 29 through 30, Deuteronomy 29, Psalm 112. Let's begin. Numbers 29:30. Now the first day of the 7th month also shall be venerable and holy to you. In it you shall not do any servile work, because it is the day of the sounding of the trumpets. And you shall offer a holocaust, as a most sweet odor to the Lord, 1 calf from the herd, 1 ram, and 7 immaculate 1-year-old lambs. And as their sacrifices, fine wheat flour sprinkled with oil, 3/10 for each calf, 2/10 for a ram, 1/10 for a lamb, which altogether are 7 lambs. And a he-goat for sin, which is offered as an expiation for the people. Aside from the holocaust of the first day of the month with its sacrifices, and the perpetual holocaust with the usual libations. By these same ceremonies, you shall offer incense as a most sweet odor to the Lord. Likewise, the 10th day of this 7th month shall be for you holy and venerable, and you shall afflict your souls. You shall do no servile work in it. And you shall offer a holocaust to the Lord, as a most sweet odor, 1 calf from the herd, 1 ram, 7 immaculate 1-year-old lambs. And for their sacrifices, fine wheat flour sprinkled with oil, 3/10 for each calf, 2/10 for a ram, 1/10 for each lamb, which are altogether 7 lambs. And a he-goat for sin, apart from those things which are usually offered for offenses as an expiation, and as a perpetual holocaust, with their sacrifice and libations. Yet truly, on the 15th day of the 7th month, which shall be for you holy and venerable, you shall not do any servile work in it, but you shall celebrate a solemnity to the Lord for 7 days. And you shall offer a holocaust, as a most sweet odor to the Lord, 13 calves from the herd, 2 rams, 14 immaculate 1-year-old lambs. And as their libations, fine wheat flour sprinkled with oil, 3/10 for each calf, which is altogether 13 calves, and 2/10 for each ram, that is, altogether 2 rams. And 1/10 for each lamb, which is altogether 14 lambs. And a he-goat for sin, apart from the perpetual holocaust, and the sacrifice and its libation. On the next day, you shall offer 12 calves from the herd, 2 rams, and 14 immaculate 1-year-old lambs. And the sacrifices and libations for each of the calves and the rams and the lambs, you shall celebrate according to the rite. With a he-goat for sin, apart from the perpetual holocaust, and the sacrifice and its libation. On the 3rd day, you shall offer 11 calves, 2 rams, and 14 immaculate 1-year-old lambs. And the sacrifices and libations for each of the calves and the rams and the lambs, you shall celebrate according to the rite. With a he-goat for sin, apart from the perpetual holocaust, and the sacrifice and its libation. On the 4th day, you shall offer 10 calves, 2 rams, and 14 immaculate 1-year-old lambs. And the sacrifices and the libations for each of the calves and the rams and the lambs, you shall celebrate according to the rite. With a he-goat for sin, apart from the perpetual holocaust, and its sacrifice and libation. On the 5th day, you shall offer 9 calves, 2 rams, and 14 immaculate 1-year-old lambs. And the sacrifices and libations for each of the calves and the rams and the lambs, you shall celebrate according to the rite. With a he-goat for sin, apart from the perpetual holocaust, and its sacrifice and libation. On the 6th day, you shall offer 8 calves, 2 rams, and 14 immaculate 1-year-old lambs. And the sacrifices and libations for each of the calves and the rams and the lambs, you shall celebrate according to the rite. With a he-goat for sin, apart from the perpetual holocaust, and its sacrifice and libation. On the 7th day, you shall offer 7 calves, and 2 rams, and 14 immaculate 1-year-old lambs. And the sacrifices and libations for each of the calves and the rams and the lambs, you shall celebrate according to the rite. With a he-goat for sin, apart from the perpetual holocaust, and its sacrifice and libation. On the 8th day, which is most honored, you shall not do any servile work. Offering a holocaust as a most sweet odor to the Lord, 1 calf, 1 ram, and 7 immaculate 1-year-old lambs. And the sacrifices and libations for each of the calves and the rams and the lambs, you shall celebrate according to the rite. With a he-goat for sin, apart from the perpetual holocaust, and its sacrifice and libation. These things you shall offer to the Lord in your solemnities, aside from the vowed and voluntary oblations, as a holocaust, as a sacrifice, as a libation, or as peace-offering victims. And Moses explained to the sons of Israel all that the Lord had commanded him. And he said to the leaders of the tribes of the sons of Israel, This is the word, which the Lord has instructed. If any man makes a vow to the Lord, or binds himself by an oath, he shall not make his word null and void, but all that he has promised, he shall fulfill. If a woman, who is in her father's house, vows anything, or binds herself by an oath, and she is still in a state of childhood, if her father knew of the vow which she has promised or of the oath by which she has obligated her soul, and he kept silent, she shall be liable to the vow. Whatever she has promised or swore, she shall complete in deed. But if her father, as soon as he had heard it, had contradicted it, both her vows and her oaths shall be nullified, either shall she be held liable to the promise, because her father had contradicted it. If she has a husband, and she has vowed anything, then, once the word has gone out of her mouth, she will have obligated her soul by an oath. On the day that her husband will hear of it, and yet not contradict it, she shall be liable to the vow, and she shall repay whatever she has promised. But if, as soon as he hears it, he contradicts it, then he will have caused her promises, and the words by which she had bound her soul, to be null and void. The Lord will be favorable to her. Widows and divorced women shall repay whatever they have vowed. If a wife in the house of her husband has bound herself by a vow or an oath, if her husband heard it, and remained silent, and he did not contradict the promise, she shall repay what she had promised. But if he promptly contradicts it, she shall not be held liable to the promise, for her husband has contradicted it, and the Lord will be favorable to her. If she has vowed or bound herself by oath, in order to afflict her soul by fasting, or by abstaining from other things, it shall be for the arbitration of her husband, as to whether or not she may do it. But if the husband, upon hearing it, remains silent, and he delays judgment until another day, whatever she had vowed or promised, she shall repay, because when he first heard it, he remained silent. And if he contradicted it only some time after he had known about it, he shall bear his iniquity. These are the laws which the Lord has appointed to Moses, between a husband and a wife, between a father and a daughter, who is still in the state of childhood or who remains in her father's house. Deuteronomy 29. These are the words of the covenant which the Lord instructed Moses to form with the sons of Israel in the land of Moab, beside that covenant which he struck with them at Horeb. And Moses called all of Israel, and he said to them, You have seen all the things that the Lord has done in your sight in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh, and to all his servants, and to his entire land. The great trials, which your eyes have seen, those immense signs and wonders. But the Lord has not given you an understanding heart, and seeing eyes, and ears that are able to hear, even to this present day. He led you for 40 years through the desert. Your garments have not been worn out, nor have the shoes on your feet been consumed by age. You did not eat bread, nor did you drink wine or liquor, so that you would know that I am the Lord your God. And you arrived at this place. And Sihon, the king of Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, went out to meet us in battle. And we struck them down. And we took their land and delivered it as a possession to Reuben and to Gad, and to half of the tribe of Manasseh. Therefore, keep the words of this covenant, and fulfill them, so that you may understand all that you are doing. Today, you all stand in the sight of the Lord your God, your leaders, and tribes, and those greater by birth, and teachers, all the people of Israel. Your children and wives, and the new arrival who dwells with you in the camp, aside from those who cut wood, and those who bring water. So that you may cross into the covenant of the Lord your God, and into the oath which the Lord your God strikes with you today. So shall he raise you up as a people to himself, and so shall he be your God, just as he has spoken to you, and just as he swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I am not forming this covenant, and confirm these oaths with you alone. but with all those who are present as well as those who are absent. For you know how we lived in the land of Egypt, and how we passed through the midst of nations. And when passing through them, you saw their abominations and filth, that is, their idols of wood and of stone, of silver and of gold, which they worshipped. So that there would not be among you man or woman, family or tribe, whose heart has been turned away this day from the Lord our God, so as to go and serve the gods of those nations. For then there would be among you a root springing forth gall and bitterness. And if he were to hear the words of this oath, he would bless himself in his own heart, saying, There will be peace for me, and I will walk in the depravity of my heart. And so, the one who is inebriated would consume the one who is thirsty. But the Lord would not ignore him. Instead, at that time, his fury and zealousness would be very greatly inflamed against that man, and all the curses which have been written in this volume would settle upon him. And the Lord would abolish his name from under heaven, and consume him unto perdition out of all the tribes of Israel, according to the curses which are contained in the book of this law and in the covenant. And the subsequent generation would speak out, along with the sons who will be born afterward. And the sojourners, who will arrive from far away, will see the plagues of that land and the infirmities with which the Lord will have afflicted it, having burned it with sulfur and molten salt, so that it can no longer be sown. And certainly no greenery would spring up, as in the example of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which the Lord overturned with his wrath and fury. And so, all the nations would say, Why has the Lord acted this way toward this land? What is this immense wrath of his fury? And they will respond, Because they abandoned the covenant of the Lord, which he formed with their fathers, when he led them away from the land of Egypt. And they have served foreign gods, and adored them, though they did not know them, and though they had not been allotted to them. For this reason, the fury of the Lord was enraged against this land, so as to lead over it all the curses which have been written in this volume. And he has cast them out of their own land, with anger and fury, and with a very great indignation, and he has thrown them into a strange land, just as has been proven this day. These hidden things of the Lord our God have been revealed to us and to our sons in perpetuity, so that we may accomplish all the words of this law. Psalm 112. Alleluia. Praise the Lord, children. Praise the name of the Lord. Blessed is the name of the Lord, from this time forward and even forever. From the rising of the sun, even to its setting, praiseworthy is the name of the Lord. The Lord is high above all nations, and his glory is high above the heavens. Who is like the Lord, our God, who dwells on high, and who gazes upon the humble things in heaven and on earth? He lifts up the needy from the ground, and he urges the poor away from filth, so that he may place him with the leaders of his people. He causes a barren woman to live in a house, as the joyful mother of sons.